podium.
That appearance established that she was not a victim. And I think once she was not a victim as a result of any of Bill's behavior, then we were able to move on.
Bill came in a comfortable second in New Hampshire, and the Clinton campaign turned its attention to the rich prize of 11 state contests on Super Tuesday. On March 10th in Chicago, as the results came in, the magnitude of the victory became clear. They'd picked up 432 delegates. That night, as she often did, Hillary preceded Bill on the podium.
No one, I was just told, has ever gotten more delegates on a single day to win the Democratic nomination.
Hillary's high profile in the campaign would make her as much a target of political mudslinging as any candidate. Fellow Democratic hopeful Jerry Brown charged the Clintons with funneling business to Hillary's Arkansas law firm. Bill defended his wife.
But you ought to be ashamed of yourself for jumping on my wife. You're not worth being on the same platform
I'll tell
as my
you something,
wife.
Mr. Clinton.
Now,
don't try to escape it. Ralph Nader called me this afternoon. He read me the article from the Washington Post.
Does that make it
I
true?
was shocked by it.
The next day, Hillary responded to Brown's attacks.
I suppose I could have stayed home and baked cookies and had teas, but what I decided to do was to fulfill my profession, which I entered before my husband was in public life.
As with past attacks, Brown's accusations did not foil their campaign. They would keep winning all the way to Madison Square Garden, July 16th, 1992.
I proudly accept your nomination for President of the United States.
At the Democratic National Convention, Bill paid tribute to his father, his mother, and then...
I learned a lot from another person, too. A person who for more than 20 years has worked hard to help our children, paying the price of time to make sure our schools don't fail them, doing it all while building a distinguished legal career and being a wonderful, loving mother. That person is my wife.
A month later, at the Republican convention, it was clear that Hillary's non-traditional role made her an easy target for the GOP, whose convention touchstone was family values. Believing Mrs. Clinton made her husband vulnerable, the Republicans not only featured their own wives, but bashed Mr. Clinton's as well.
Elect me, and you get 2 for the price of 1, Mr. Clinton says of his lawyer spouse. And Hillary has compared marriage and the family as institutions to slavery and life on an Indian reservation. Well, speak for yourself, Hillary.
During the fall campaign, Hillary's high profile was toned down. And despite her comment she was no Tammy Wynette, she stayed by her husband's side right through the last day of campaigning, a marathon 10-city tour.
I have 9 cities to go, but remember, on the last day of this great campaign to change America.
How do you do it? It must be really fatiguing.
It's the last lap, man.
Well, the voice is making remarkable comebacks at every landing, you know, because it's very shaky. But it's okay. He's going to be fine.
It was dawn, Election Day. They'd campaigned around the clock. Now it was a matter of waiting. When night fell on Little Rock, a crowd gathered to await the results.
We project that Bill Clinton is going to be the next president of the United States. We projected it.
It was late when Arkansas's native son and his family emerged from the old State House.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us all join together in welcoming the next president of the United States of America, Governor Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and Joseph Clinton.
For the next 3 months, Bill Clinton would make the transition from governor to president. Hillary was a key player in everything from picking cabinet members to setting policy. Then it was time to say goodbye and pack up the treasures accumulated through 12 years in the governor's mansion.
You know, it's just
really memories come flooding back, all the games we played, you know, in this room or in another room in the house over Christmas or holidays.
It was a transition in many ways for Hillary. She was not just moving from one house to another, she was moving into a place in history. A year before, she had taken a brief trip with friends Connie Fales, Nancy Snyderman, and Mary Steenburgen. Mary was struck by this recollection.
We would walk through the streets of San Francisco, and she would say, "Wow, we're out of Arkansas and nobody looks at me. They're all looking at you. This is fantastic." And so I remember saying to her right after Bill was elected president, I reminded her about what she'd said in San Francisco, and I said that will never, ever be true again. And it's true. She'll never have anonymity again.
On that bright January day in 1993, President and Mrs. Clinton became the youngest first family since the Kennedys to enter the White House. With them would come changes, changes born of a generation.
Today, a generation raised in the shadows of the Cold War assumes new responsibilities.
It was Hillary who would be the most visible difference. The president immediately appointed his wife to lead one of his most pressing domestic initiatives, health care reform. And Hillary was catapulted into a position unprecedented in American history.
We want you to be able to choose your health plan.
It has to be portable from job to job and across state lines.
We want to ensure quality. We do have to control costs.
How could it be that everyone doesn't share your concerns? Because your love for your children and your family is what we say we believe in our country.
What makes Hillary Clinton such an unusual figure is she has different kinds of power. She has the power of a key White House policymaker. She has the power of a political confidant who's a relative, like Robert Kennedy. And she has the derivative power of being married to the President of the United States. You put those three roles together, you are talking about an extremely powerful person who was in the White House with no title, but with clout that is almost unequaled in any other administration I can think of.
Many first ladies have been independent, intelligent women who strongly influenced their husbands. But Hillary's role raised a political question. Since she was not subject to the checks and balances of a salaried government official, to whom was she accountable?
She should be given a job with a salary, even if it's only $1 a year, and subject to being called to Congress, interviewed by the press, and be treated just like another senior official.
Her power was such that Hillary's private life was subjected to withering public scrutiny, treatment Washington usually reserves for its top officials. Questions arose about whether she had been given preferential treatment in the commodities trade she made during the 70s, and whether she and Bill had been given financial favors through their Whitewater real estate deal.
What does this say about the Clinton presidency?
I think it says a great deal about the ethics of the people involved in the Clinton presidency.
We're talking about maybe some sloppy, lawyerly work here that may embarrass Hillary Clinton.
I think we can be talking about serious conflict of interest and serious misconduct that may
In the landscape of political scandals, Whitewater may be a bump, but it speaks mountains about me-generation public ethics, as well as single-party control of certain states in the United States Congress. In a nutshell, Whitewater is about the arrogance of power.
It would be months before the First Lady would recognize that she had to deal with matters she considered private in public.
It is said in this town repeatedly, and has been printed, as you know, repeatedly, that Mrs. Clinton has dragged her feet every step of the way on trying to come clean on Whitewater, and people are wondering what's going on there.
I think if you look back to the summer of 1992, you knew from the very beginning of this campaign, from the very beginning on this road to the presidency, that people were going to try to make Mrs. Clinton a political issue. They don't like the fact that she is involved in important issues like health care. They don't like the fact that she is unapologetic about the role she plays in the administration.
While the news media focused on Whitewater, Hillary continued to focus on what she saw as her mission, reforming America's health care system.